saw it! Mom, I saw the treasure chest on the news. John ran over to her. It's here. It's on this island. He pulled the small glass pepper jar from his pocket and he shook it. We're going to trade this for the chest. We're going to get you home. That's brilliant. Something that exists in this time, but is rare enough to be of value. His mom smiled. Come on, let's go. His mom set a very fast pace to the hard bargain. By the time they reached Moore's sail-covered fortress, his mom was dripping with sweat, and John felt overheated. You have returned. Moore carried his musket to meet them. I brought something to barter, to trade with you, John said, and he pulled the pepper jar from his pocket, and he held it out for Moore to see. Moore's lips set in a tight line. His left eye began to twitch. I will trade you peppercorns for treasure chest, John said. He shook the jar so they would clink around. I can see what you brought. Moore's voice was dry, strained, and nearly crackling. So, do we have a deal? John asked, subtly expecting the answer of no, due to Moore's seeming anger at the offer of pepper. Maybe I should have brought gold, or... You think me a fool? Moore said. Who would offer treasure like spice for an empty chest? He took a menacing step towards John. There's more to that chest than you're telling me, isn't there? It's a family heirloom, that's all, John said. Moore took another step forward, and John's mom stepped in front of him, blocking John with her body. The boy is a liar, and now he sets his henchwoman on me? Moore looked between John and his mom. You're here to steal everything from me. Even now, your crew pillages one of my wrecks. Your wreck? John's mom tilted her head towards his shoulder. This island and everything you see from it, all of its shores, is mine, Moore said. Moore paced towards the sea, spreading his arms wide, taking in the entirety of all of the vista. They're only taking what they need to make their ship seaworthy again. John followed after Moore. If they can't fix this ship, they're going to end up living on your island with you, Moore. Only until I find some way to get rid of them. Moore whirled about on John. Moore's bulging eyes stared at John's unpatched one. Begone from my sight, and never return, boy. Moore pulled his musket out. He held it in front of him, crossing his chest. Moore clicked the hammerlock back as a threat. Come, John. Let's leave him and his things. She turned and walked away, and John followed. Once John was sure they were out of earsight, he said, Mom, we need to slip around his camp and look for ourselves. No, John. He has a gun. It looks like your plan to get Blackbird his ship back just caught us the chest. It didn't. Well, it did, but it did just because Moore's crazy, Mom. John grabbed his mom's arm and tried to pull her off the path and around Moore's tent city. No, let's go, John. She stepped away from him. Mom, I know where the treasure chest is. We just have to get to it first. And then you can go home. John pointed inland. How can you know where it is? She asked. I'll show you. He pulled off the eye patch and he returned to his room. The charts were in his closet. He grabbed the roll of them and he pulled back on the eye patch. Just as before, jumping back and forth in time made him sick to his stomach. He handed the charts to his mom and he doubled over to catch his breath. Are you okay, John? Yeah, but going back and forth makes me dizzy. John's mom unrolled the charts. She raised an eyebrow. X marks the spot? You've been reading too many pirate stories. Mom, I've been living a real one, he said. He laughed. Her eyebrows stayed raised. We have to go now, before Moore beats us to the chest, now that he thinks it's valuable. Fine, John. Lead the way. John ran through the underbrush until he could see the beach. He turned and he ran north. He occasionally checked over his shoulder to see if his mom was keeping up with him. She wasn't as nimble in her boots as he was in his sneakers, and several times he had to wait to see if she could catch up. How did you get in such good shape? His mom asked between pants. Well, we run 2 miles every couple of days at school, he said. Come on, keep up, Mom. He bounded on, keeping moving as fast as he could. He has to get Mom home, and then the trip to the Caribbean is off, he thought, realizing he'd still be able to come back and help Blackbird once the axle for the ship's wheels was fabricated. While he was confident his mom could take the eye patch from him once they were home safe, she surely would let him do one thing for Blackbeard before she took the eye patch. Yes, he had thought this all through. His plan was going to work. When they came across a stream that led into a cove, John stopped. He checked the charts. The features of the small inlet matched the chart. This is where they found the chest in our time, John said. He pried a stick free from a spindly hardwood and walked to the beach, poking the stick into the sand every few steps, every few feet. Slurch, slurch, slurch. Sand, more sand. Dry sand, wet sand, and thunk. He dug with his hands, pulling the sand away until he revealed the square top of the treasure chest. Here, here, he yelled. His mom was at his side in a moment. They dug furiously, unearthing the chest, enough of the chest to pull it from the sand. Is this it? Is this it? John asked, trembling with excitement in his voice. His mom opened the lid and ran a finger along the inner edge. I made these scratches from the inside when I thought the lid was stuck, and I thought I was going to drown in the wreckage. Get in! Get in! Do what you did last time! John bounded from foot to foot. Mom's coming home. His mom gave him a rare, wide grin. She climbed into the chest, curling up with her knees into her chest. John shut the lid. He waited and waited. Come on, work, work. And he waited. Maybe only she went through time. John opened the lid. His mom was still inside, laying still. Mom? We're still here. It didn't work. She shivered and began to sob. Chapter 27. Sinks slowly. Why didn't the chest work? John thought, scratching his chin. Was it the wrong one? Maybe you have to be the one to close it, John suggested. And what, Viola? Magic? His mom shook her head no. Who knows? It's magic, Mom. The eye patch only works for me. Come on, try it. Fine. His mom grabbed the lid and closed it herself. Nothing. She opened the lid and sat up on the treasure chest. Maybe it has to be clean. John knelt and started brushing away the grains of wet sand from the wood in the metal chest. John, his mom said to get his attention. What about the water? You said it was raining when you got in, I teleported you into the sea. We just needed to drag it in the water. John grabbed his mom's hand to help her out of the treasure chest. John, she stepped out to the beach and closed the chest. Come on, we can make it work. Mom, we have to make it work. He grabbed one of the handles of the chest and continued to drag it down the beach. Maybe it was a one-way trip. His mom didn't follow him. Are you sure this is the right chest? John knelt in the waves, inspecting the metal of the wood, trying to remember exactly what the treasure chest they had brought from the storyteller looked like. The wood was solid, it was stained and lacquered, it was waterproof. The frame of the chest was made of riveted steel. John traced his fingers along the metal. In the center of the chest, the vertical steel became a circle. Surrounded by wavy lines, he brushed sand from the circle, revealing an indentation. Mom, something was here. He traced the shape with his finger, cleaning away the remaining sand. He stared at the shape. What had it been? He closed his eyes and he tried to remember the printout. A simple treasure chest with a what was on the front of the chest? A sunburst! He remembered. A gem used to be here. John tapped against the front of the treasure chest. A gem? His mom sounded curious. Yes, it was amber colored. It was about this big. He held up his hand and forefinger and thumb, forming a ring that lined up his indentation in the chest. I saw it. Oh my gosh. I saw it recently. What kind of gem? His mom asked. John paced the beach. An amber stone, about as big around as his forefinger and thumb together. He closed his eyes and concentrated on remembering where he saw a yellow gem. A vision of smoke came to him. Gunshots and freckled face. Pigtails. Alyssa. No, not Alyssa. Who? Anne! Anne has the gem, John said. Blackbeard's daughter? His mom tilted her head towards her shoulder. Yes, she wears it on a necklace. John bounced up and down with excitement. We have to take the chest to Nasu. The gem will fix it. I know it will. John, we can't keep chasing this dream. Let's face it, I'm stuck here. This is my home now. She stood in the sand and started to unbuckle. She sat in the sand and started to unbuckle her shoes. No, John stomped his foot. I know I saw the gem. Anne has it. And you think this gem is going to power the magic of the chest? She paused in unbuckling her boots. I don't know. All I know is we can't give up. We have to try. John grabbed the handle of the chest and resumed dragging it along the beach. John, not every story ends with a happy ending. But yours will, Mom. Ours will, he shouted. The chest was heavier than he expected, and dragging it through the sand made his arm feel like it was going to wrench right out of the socket. John, tell your father I love him. Tell him I never meant to leave. The defeat in his mom's voice made him let go of the chest and turn around. And don't come back, John. This is no place for a kid. She had one boot off now and was picking at an oozing sore on her feet. Think of all the things we've accomplished, John said, and he ran back to her side. We found the chest. We just need to fix it. And what if the gem you saw isn't what we need? Then we keep looking, Mom. He picked up his mom's boot and he shook the sand out of it. Mom, put this back on. John, you have your whole life waiting for you, back at home. She tilted her head toward her shoulder. And you will too. No giving up. He held out the boot for her. We have the chest, but now, how are we going to get back to Nasu? His mom asked. The Dragon of Plunder is a wreck. Not for long. Alyssa's making the part we need. Alyssa? Yes. Well, her dad. See, he was in the Navy. The ship will be seaworthy in no time, I know it. He shook the boot again. There's no stopping you, John, is there? His mom squirmed and squinted and looked up at him. What can I say? I take after my mother, he smiled. So what's the plan? The glower broke from her face, and she grinned back at him.